Hey producers! Today I'm showing you a system that completely changes your reverb workflow. No more return tracks. No more routing chaos. Instead, one FX rack right on your channel, with everything inside: dry signal, reverb send, EQ, sidechain, automation, all controlled via macros. And the best part, you can drag and drop the rack into any project with all settings intact. What you're looking at is an Ableton effect rack. At first glance, it looks like any other rack. But look closer. There's a dry chain. It passes your original signal through, untouched. And then there are one or more reverb chains. They work like an internal send. That means your dry signal stays 100% intact, and the reverb sits on top, controlled, clean, separate. Stay with me, because I'm also going to show you how to drag this rack from an old project into a new one and have all your send settings come along automatically. This is a game changer for anyone who works with multiple projects or templates. Let's talk about the classic problem for a second. You're working with return tracks. Every channel has its send knob. This works, but it has massive drawbacks. First, automation. Want to change the reverb amount of one channel over time. You automate the send knob. Sounds simple, but the moment you drag that channel into another project, the send routing is gone. The automation clip points to nothing. Second, portability. Channels with return track routing are tied to that specific project. A rack on the channel is not. It travels with the channel. Third, clarity. The more you produce, the more return tracks pile up. At some point, you don't even know which reverb was meant for which channel. And there's a fourth problem, which I'd argue is the most important one. Many producers use reverb plugins directly on the channel, with the built-in dry/wet knob. Sounds practical at first. It isn't. When you set dry/wet to 30% wet, you no longer have a clean signal. You have a blended signal. The dry signal is already mixed in, together with the reverb. That means you can't route the two components separately anymore. No separate dry, no separate wet, everything blended together. And now the biggest issue, automation. You want to pull the reverb out during a track, fade the wet amount to 0. What happens? The reverb tail gets cut hard. It can't decay. You hear the cut. That doesn't sound professional, it sounds like a mistake. With the rack system, this dry-wet knob no longer exists. The reverb plugin inside the rack runs at 100% wet. Your dry signal passes completely through the dry chain. You automate the macro, and the reverb fades cleanly, while the tail decays naturally. Fully. No cut. Now let me show you how the rack is structured. The first chain is always the dry chain. Volume at 0 decibels. That's your pass-through signal. Untouched. Now the reverb chain. Here's the trick. The chain volume is set to -infinity. This chain outputs nothing, but the utility controls how much signal enters. Turn up the send level, and more signal flows into the reverb. Exactly like a send. Just internal. Reverb plugin itself running at 100% wet. No dry component, cleanly separated. After or in front of the reverb, chain any devices you want. An EQ8, cut everything below 200 Hz so the reverb doesn't muddy the mix. Or a high pass for vocals. This keeps the reverb clean and controlled. One step further, a sidechain compressor. The dry signal feeds the compressor's sidechain input in the reverb chain. Result: when the dry signal is present, the reverb ducks back. Now the macros. Map macro 1 to the utility send level in the reverb chain. That's your reverb send knob. And then, for example, macro 2 could be pre-delay. Macro 3, the EQ cutoff. Macro 4, the sidechain ratio. Everything you want to change about the sound is on a macro. And what does that mean? Automation in Ableton becomes one thing. Automate the macro, not 4 separate parameters. One, the rest follows. Listen to this. I'm slowly turning up macro 1. You can hear the reverb come in. The dry signal stays completely stable. No level change, no tonal loss. With sidechain. If you're enjoying this and want more tips like it, hit the like button and subscribe. It helps me a lot and you won't miss any future free downloads. Now the moment I promised earlier, I have an old project here. This channel with the FX Rack on it, I drag it directly into my new project. And look, all macro settings, all chain configurations, everything's there, ready to use immediately. Quick pause. I know what you're thinking, can't I just do this with a return track? You can, but then explain to me how you take that return track into a new project without rebuilding all the routing from scratch. And before we get to the finished racks, one detail worth mentioning. This rack has 0 side effects on your gain staging workflow. The dry chain is neutral. You lose no headroom. Now let's talk about the finished racks. I've put together a free download pack for you. It includes First, a simple Reverb Send Rack, perfect for learning and as a base for your own variations. Second, Shimmer Reverb Rack, with pitch shifting in the reverb path for atmospheric pads and synths. Third, black hole emulation, long reverb tail chain for epic spatial sounds. Fourth, vocal combined reverbs. Reverb with compressor ducking and a small vocal room. Calibrated for vocals. Fifth, ducking reverb, Sidechain Compressor in the reverb path. Plug and play, download link is in the description. Before I get to the outro, a question for you. Which reverb type do you use most in your productions? Room, plate, shimmer, or something completely different? Write it in the comments. I promise to read every single one. And if there's enough interest, I'll make a dedicated video on whichever type gets mentioned most. That was the Reverb Send FX Rack system for Ableton Live. If you want to go deeper, check out the next video. All links are in the description. Until then, keep producing.